We did it.
Much like staring at the screen, like, how do I get on here?
I know. It's like, I can't see anything.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Hey, Nikki. I see Robret's on here. Christina's on here. Yeah. Awesome. We did it.
We did. We're getting better at this.
We're getting better. We're getting better. All right. Let's jump into it.
Let's do it.
Do it. So, you know, let me ask you, how many like goals did you set and how are you doing with your goals?
Me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I kept my goals
Your
fairly,
20 and your 2021 goals.
yeah, I kept them fairly simple. And I kind of break them up in categories to not only think about like my, wellness. Thank you.
Thank you.
I try to think about my wellness, but like everything, right? Just financial, career. But I try to break it down in those segments and then keep it very, very simple.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel really good about my goals so far. And some of them are as simple as like I want my hair to grow. And so I've been just thinking about like, okay, what do I need to do to make that happen? Obviously, most of that is just like living and breathing, right? But then other things like, making sure I get my water and moisturizing and things like that. But yeah, I think I'm tracking very well. I try to do a check-in with myself at the beginning of the week
Mm-hmm.
to see how things are going.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. I'm along the same line, but I'll be honest, there were a couple of goals from last year that didn't get done and they kind of made it on the list and eh.
yeah, I think that happens to a lot of people though, right? Like we're just like, because I kind of use this app and I go back to the app every year. And sometimes I do find myself like copying and pasting.
Of course you have an app.
Of course, listen, I have to write it down. I do enjoy my paper, but I also like to see it in, I like technology. So yes, it is in an app. And I usually will take, some of the goals that I had from the prior year and bring them over into this year. I'm going to say that 2020 is not fair because there were a lot of things that I had on that list that did not happen.
Yeah.
But then there were some cool things that I obviously had never even thought about, would have never added to my list of goals that I was able to achieve in the year. So,
I'm curious about, Robret, Christina, Nikki, like how are you all doing with your 2021 goals? Um, are you on track? Are you kind of, okay, 2020 was a wash, let's do a restart? Like, I'm very curious about that. Robret agreed with you. So I think she's in the same line about 2020 being like, okay, that was a wash. I had so many things that, I didn't accomplish, but I know she had some things that she'd accomplished in
yeah.
2020 that she didn't necessarily think were going to like pop off, but that was great. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And, that's why we definitely, we're both health nuts. Christine and I are health nuts. And yeah, 2020. We're health nuts. So we're all about like wellness and really having an overall like healthy life. And it's not just about the exercise and nutrition, but there are other aspects. And I think goal setting is a really important aspect of living a healthy life. Because a lot of times I see folks and they're, don't have any goals and they're kind of all over the place. It's like, okay, let's
Bring it
is it
in.
that let's bring it in. So, we think it's very important to have goals. We're both goal setters. So,
Yes.
all right. So, okay, you. if you're doing well on your goals, if you're not doing well, like what do we do next? What's our next step, Christina?
So, I mean, I think that's the thing, right? So, with a lot of people that I've talked to, some are like, "Well, I've failed, right? Like I've started doing this, and now I'm not, I'm not. I don't know what to do. I should just stop." I'm like, "No, no, like you don't have to stop, right? Like we
Mm-hmm.
just keep going, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not a failure, right? Like if you have a minor setback, you just start over the next day. We don't have to just scrap the whole thing. You're not starting over from scratch. You really can just pick up on that very next day and continue on that path.
Right.
Um, but I think as you were saying, right, like with when we're looking at our goals and we find these goals that either, Brett, you copy and pasted your goals. There are some that we copy and paste over
Over. Yeah.
and over and over and over again. And so with that, we have to really look at those goals and say, like, should I keep adding these to the list?
Is it really important to me? Or maybe I need to reconfigure this goal so that they can be something that is maybe a little bit more bite size,
Right,
or more specific.
right,
I think you and I were talking about this, and you mentioned like, okay, well, I want to lose weight or I want to get healthier. Okay, well, that what does that mean? Why
right,
do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to be healthier? What specifically do you want to improve? And being specificity is important. And even, like being healthier doesn't happen overnight. So maybe you start with things like, you know, setting goals for myself, or stretching more, or, really just, going for a walk once a day. Like just very simple. Those are things that are bite sized and can add up to a healthier lifestyle, right?
absolutely. And again, we have to realize that some of these goals that we're setting, we may not reach them in that year, right? Like they may take longer, which is why if you take these smaller bite size actionable items, you can start to see that progress. And then, you finally obviously reach the goal eventually. But sometimes I think we definitely take on too much, and that definitely is a problem.
Right. You got that right, Christina. The whole goal is not a wash because of a miss. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Totally agree. Yep. Bite-sized goals do add up. They really do. They really do.
They
I
do.
tell you. Yeah. I had a goal of perfecting my omelet,
You did. You did.
right?
You did.
It's, I have to have fun with it, right? So I got a new pan, new set of pots, because I was like,
Because
oh,
your omelet was struggling.
right.
That's struggle sitting.
You can't perfect an omelet in an old beat up pot. So I'm like, oh, I need new pots. All right. Well, let me watch some videos on omelets. Just little stuff. But I'm telling you. And I cooked an omelet probably like every day. Well, I cook omelets anyway, but the better omelet. I'm like, okay, I could do this better. But I'm telling you, I make a mean omelet now.
I'm sure you do.
Check off the box.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Um, so that's the thing, right? Like sometimes you might try something and it's not successful, although you did throw it away, right?
Yeah, I did try. I tried like the first few times. It was like, what is this broken thing? It's not, but I could have just, tossed it and been like, you know what? I'm just going to have scramble. We're not going to do omelets. We're going to have scrambles going forward. No.
Right. And Robert, that is so true. Like having the proper tools is important, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
like you might not be able to achieve that ultimate goal if you don't have the right tools. And so you need to say, okay, let me assess what I have, maybe make some changes, and then continue. You're still doing it, you're still trying,
Hmm.
and then you finally, reach the pinnacle, right? But it may take some trial and error.
And I reached out to someone that met the goal. So, I've got you, who you're a lovely chef, and they're my cousin's a chef, so asking those people that have actually done what I've done or what I want to do is also important too.
Absolutely. And that's, I think we talked about that before. Like, we all can't be experts in everything. And so while you want to learn more, you want to go ahead and lean on the people that you know who have that expertise already,
Mm-hmm.
and take advantage of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm just reading. This is where you get like the whole lean in, like,
I know, right? Auntie lean in to see.
let me, um, but yeah, I think that that's really like, really the highlight of what, I wanted to talk about with goals. Um, Anyone that's here have any challenges with the goals? Alita, I think, well, if anyone wants to type, but I was just thinking about like us dealing with this, you know, dealing with the COVID situation as far as, the stay-at-home orders and just dealing with winter here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you kind of get those days where you're like, I don't want to do anything.
Not motivated. Not
Not
motivated to do it. Yeah.
like, and that's where I think it's also beneficial to have, like, again, that accountability partner or someone that you can check in with to say, hey, what are you doing? Or let's do something together,
Mm-hmm.
obviously virtually. But I definitely know that that's something that we've talked about struggling with just as people who love to work out. It's like, okay, I can't do it today. And then sometimes you really just can say, all right, let me just chill out, do something else. Maybe I'll just sit down and relax, meditate or whatever. But yeah, I think that's definitely something.
I love that.
I do.
I think that releasing the guilt, I love that question about releasing the guilt. Um, I think it's very important to remind yourself a really good strategy because we're both like we're professionals, we're ambitious, so when we put something up on the board, we want to meet it, but there are times when we have to do what's best for ourselves and say, hey, what's best for me? What's the right thing to do? What's going to feed me more than having this goal that I know that I may need to let go, and maybe that means it's not time for it, or maybe it means it's not that important to me, and I'm going to be okay. And I'm going to be okay with being honest with myself and really learning myself more about those goals that I know need to come off the board or they may not be attainable anymore, and just kind of reconfigure it. So that's really one strategy that I would use in terms of, dealing with the failure, and you kind of learn something about yourself. We've both failed at, certain goals. And you have to start with saying, hey, this isn't working or this didn't work, and ask yourself why. And really try to be honest with yourself, and then figure out what's next, because there are
Yeah.
so many goals.
Right.
We definitely don't want to focus on the failures, we want to learn from them, but there's just so many goals to achieve.
And obviously, right, there's a lot, and that can also be a thing that holds you back if there are so many goals that you set for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Why, again, I have to reel myself in. Like, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, what are you doing? Like, you really need to just narrow it down.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have so many goals. I think it's hard though, right? As most of the people that we know that are in our realm are very ambitious, and we want to be goal getters. We are seeking that,
Mm-hmm.
very often, right? But I think that's where we have to just kind of sit down with ourselves and assess like the high level things truly important, and then maybe like you write down a few, and then you start to tick off, like cut some, right? Like, keep it very, very simple. And then I think the other thing that you can do is, if we set goals in January, who says we can't change midway? Who says we can't change any point?
Absolutely.
So if we set these goals, here we are in January and we want to reevaluate in June, I think that's totally reasonable to sit down and look at what you came up with, look at what you've achieved, and see what's still relevant, what's still important, and then figure out, do I need to add some things? Do I move? And yes, honey, go getters.
Yeah.
We're
And
definitely
regret, yeah, I'm with you on 2020 had me feeling all kinds of emotions. And so that's why we're here. We want people to be inspired and feel like, even COVID is still here, but that does not mean that we cannot find connection. And we want to find ways to continue to encourage you all to set these goals and do what you can do. There are some things that we can't, but there are so many things that we can do. And I love I love your transparency. And I think that, being honest with how you're feeling allows you to do something about it, deal with it, approach things differently, and kind of process those emotions. And maybe even structuring like your new goals, because we're talking about goals, but this could apply to a lot of things, but restructuring your goals around, what's going to bring you joy, joy and happiness in 2021. And Christina, you said reset in June. Shoot, we are at January 21st. We can, we just had this amazing inauguration yesterday.
yeah.
I'm feeling all kinds of ways now. I'm like, hey, scrap those goals. I want to
Right.
become vice president.
Right. New goals. New goals.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I definitely
Hard to find snack
agree. I think,
things when I have an appetite. Yeah. That's a good
and
goal
just really
though.
quick before you
That's a
go,
goal. Yeah.
I would say we can set goals around connection, right? Like set goals to connect with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
I have friends who we do, every other whatever, maybe it's a week here or there. We do our Zoom calls. It's just a quick check-in. We can see each other's face. Those are like, you know, breathing life basically. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just really important to look at those things. And again, our goals can be all encompassing, and obviously 2021 is different and we're still navigating it, trying to figure things out, but set goals for things like that whatever gives you joy, let's do that.
Mm-hmm. Amen, sister.
Nikki's
She said it's hard to find snacks or meal options when I have no appetite. Get bored quickly with food and exercise. Okay. So I think that, well, it's good that you realize how that you get bored quickly. So that means that you might want to set some goals around, the timing. If it's like, you want to switch things up every 30 days, because you may want to set some goals around that. Like, every 30 days you want to either reassess your workouts and what you're doing, or reassess the foods and how you can change things up, how you can change the flavors, how you can change the types of foods that you eat, the meats that you eat. Maybe you want to go vegan. Like, there's a lot of different ways that you could approach it. But it's just important that the important thing that you noted is that you get bored quickly, and you can't change that. There's nothing that you need to change about that. We are who we are, but really setting some goals around really what your personality is and what your needs are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course that's challenging with this stay-at-home deal. Like, I mean, we've been cooking every day every day for I don't know how many days. And I love to cook, but at some point I'm just like, what else am I cooking? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I cannot think of another thing, because at this point we've had every food item you could possibly think of. And so that's when, for me, my fail safe is just to go back to the simple things that I know that I don't have to think about it. I can easily just cook up something very simple, and then I will obviously rotate that in and eat that, throughout the week. But it is a little challenging now, again, just with all the like, okay, I got to cook every meal at home. All right. And so it does cause a little bit of challenge.
Love that. I get to cook every meal at home. I know.
Right. Like,
See how our personalities are different. It's just like I can't make you be me, and you can't make me be you.
right.
So it's just important that you know what your specific circumstances are, and what you need. Because someone else
Yeah.
might say, well, every like 30 days, I'm gonna order out
Right.
and you know relieve myself of cooking
Right.
for like a week. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
it's fine.
And Nikki, and anyone else who's bored with cooking, just to try something different. There are so many. There's still obviously different things that we have not tried. Find something that you haven't tried before, and look up a interest or whatever. You can ask me. I like to like get creative. I don't know. I think I'm like on Top Chef sometimes, some show where I can just go and find things. So if you have something you want to try, let me know.
I did. Christina said I had to do pots and pans at the right time. I know I did. I
You did.
sure did.
You
That's
did.
because I was excited about that. I added the frittata in, and I don't know, it's just nuts.
Yes, you were very excited about those pants. Um, but yeah, so I think I think I'm excited about goal setting in general. Obviously, I'm excited about everyone working towards their goals and just being mindful about them and
Mm-hmm.
give grace. Like we are in a time like no other, so we can totally give ourselves some space and grace and time to figure it out and keep it super simple. Even if your goal is just to survive, like that's it. What do you need to do to survive? Okay, well, I need to eat. I need to stay home. I don't know. Keep it simple, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and if you do that, I feel like you're good.
That's awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate all of you joining us and asking your questions. And we hope that you got some good nuggets from us. And feel free to drop us a DM or put some more questions in the comments on the live, and we'll be happy to answer those going forward. And next week's topic will be dealing with COVID and some of the ways that we have found that work for us. And we want to hear more about what's working for you in terms of dealing with COVID and the emotions around it. So we thank you all. Have a good night, and we will see you next week.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.